has to step up in this one. Kazak's not the most spectacular jungler early.
Right.
We'll see how Meteos can keep tabs with him.
It's any given day, Jat. Things can be said, but these players are about to prove it. Let's see what they have here as we enter the first of this best of 5 here for the NALCS Summer Playoff Finals. The crowd is ready, raring to go. The TSM chants obviously on the up and up, but Cloud9 fans are definitely there trying to drown it out as well. This is going to be some crazy stuff.
The battle of the team names by the crowd right now.
So it doesn't look like we're going to get any crazy starts, Jat. Everybody going face-to-face here in the standard matchup with most likely a little bit of a late fade. Got a ward from Meteos.
Yeah, you mentioned the lanes, and one thing that could give Dyrus a big edge in the lane is just the fact that there's a Zilean support. Dyrus will hit level 2 first. Balls will pretty much be on his back.
We have to keep attention on that experience.
From right away. Trying to get some deep wards. Lemon Nation standing his ground, though. I wonder if we're going to see any support roaming. Something that always happens during the North American playoffs is teams will scrim the opposite side of the bracket that they are in.
Right.
So everyone has a subset of scrim opponents. And because, especially this year, we had such a long time between end of regular season and start of playoffs, little micro metas almost popped up. So last split, an example would be Cloud9 played a whole bunch of Jax.
Right.
So Jax was really big on that side of the bracket. Yet the other pocket of scrims, which had Curse and TSM in it, played a bunch of Mundo top lane with Heal and Ignite. That was the Quas Dyrus thing, and they met in the finals, and it turned out that Jax was the superior one.
Right.
What Cloud9 has been doing on their side in their micro meta is solo laning their AD carry for large portions of the early game. They did it against Curse in every single matchup, and it's something TSM has not mimicked. You can see AD carry support in the bottom lane for TSM, yet it's going to be Maokai and a support in the bottom lane for Cloud9, with Trist in the top lane trying to get, more importantly, the level advantage on Trist.
We saw this with Dig a little bit as well. It's definitely spreading out among the teams, becoming something that they're trying to put into play. Get the level advantage, especially if you're going for those late game plays. Not too much between these two in the mid lane. Obviously, when Bjergsen came over, he was playing like an all-star all the time. And that play has really started to come back here at the playoffs. And him and Hai were ones to go at it over and over, training each other, practicing, talking about the mid lane. So this matchup is one they know very well.
Hai's one of those guys that is underappreciated by so many people. Yeah, when Bjergsen came over here, he learned a lot about Hai's early aggression in the lane.
Yeah.
However, this is the Zilean thing that happens. Early level 2s trying to push him in. Ball's actually had a really good farming game on Maokai against Curse. He's gotten quite good at grabbing CS on Maokai against an AD carry.
All about management, knowing when he can go in, those heals.
Yeah, heals from Nami.
And Lemon Nation as well.
Heals from Maokai, and now Meteos' first gank of the game. Ooh, this is dangerous for Dyrus.
Great amount of slow there. Whimsy's used quite early. He could have the flash over the wall, but it's not really going to be necessary.
I almost feel like
actually
it's just going to be the long chase. He has no more escapes.
Here's Hai. Why did he not go over for the wall? This is interesting. Dyrus actually gets himself in a pickle. No rotation for the rest of the team. First blood, a matter of 3:33 into the game.
Oh, man. So much patience from Meteos was displayed during that gank, getting the auto attack in first to slow down Dyrus for an easier cocoon, which made him burn the flash early, which is why Dyrus wasn't able to flash over the Baron wall. However, it is an early game kill. He does have his teleport. He'll be going back to lane, but now with the flash down, watch for the camp. That's a big danger for Dyrus.
He's gonna have to get himself a ward being down on that cache, but he'll be able to do it. He's already set it up. He's got it right down underneath that Baron area. So amazing. Down to the bottom side. He's trying to counter that he saw Meteos in the top, getting a little bit out of that. They might be able to put some pressure on the bottom, but no, TSM has not pushed up the lane.
They don't actually have diving tools now. Zilean, Lucian lane. Oftentimes, if you want to pull off an early game turret dive, especially in a 3v2, you need something like a Leona who has a lot of early game tankiness in order to withstand those turret shots. So pretty safe lane, actually, for Balls and Lemon Nation.
No real advantage in the mid lane, but that could really mean that, well, he has the kill from outside the mid lane, but that's just going to mean that he is even having a better time. No pressure to him, already got a kill. He's going to have that Blade of the Rune King quite fast in this game.
And we'll see if they can pull off a proper split push strategy with the Zed. later on in team fights.
Yep.
Zillion ult could actually be very strong against him. You can definitely see the attack of Dyrus that Cloud9 is going to be
Pink's already
launching this game. Early pink ward, they already know his flash is down. It should be easy farming for Sneaky, and it may keep Dyrus emotionally out of this game. I mean, we saw what happened in Game 5 with LMQ when Dyrus got going, killing Ackerman over and over again. Dyrus has never been able to do that against Balls, but that is also in large part because Meteos has such a connection with the top side of the map. I mean, it's actually against Sneaky this time, not even that matchup, but it's still the pressure that Cloud9 is able to put on Dyrus.
When you think Amazing, you're not thinking of him ganking with Dyrus in the top lane.
Whoa.
Oh, the mid lane, however, they get a little bit of roam from Lustboy here as he sets up Pink Ward vision around Killbrush. That might actually just be cleared out by Lemon Nation right away as well. So they go tit for tat there. High's going to give him a bit of protection. Oh,
Cloud9 was
good guy,
slightly,
Lemon.
I'd say vastly superior vision control early on in the game. You may as well.
It says, oh yeah?
There. Lustboy's had very good vision control throughout these playoffs.
It's really something that was added to the team when he came about, especially just a set of different champions as well, and kind of wrangling in Wild Turtle a little bit better to make his play overall just that much more clean.
A calming sense of experience on support, I think, more than anything else.
Getting pretty aggressive here in the bottom. That bomb should cause Balls to have to go back here. Well, Lemon's got full. Yeah, they'll be able to heal up.
We'll see. It's a little bit tricky here. I mean, he's not necessarily in auto attack range of these creeps without taking more damage than he would gain from hitting it. Lemon ends up taking that cannon CS just because Balls can't get in range. They're waiting to be able to sustain it back up, but he doesn't want to back until his teleport's up again to avoid losing too much experience.
Good ward from Bjergsen. He puts it right under High to make sure High doesn't get a roam down on this push lane of Lustboy and Wild Turtle. So they're safe to have fun and just set bombs off onto the turret.
Still managed to get 5 of 6 in that wave, so Ball's still farming okay.
Yeah.
You compare him with Dyrus, since they are doing the swaps, the AD carry and top lane farm, champion-wise, is very equivalent. It's just the kill that is giving the majority of this gold advantage to Cloud9.
Right now it's a big point, chat. A lot of the sixes around the map, at least for top lane, and Amazing over Meteos and Balls with that Zillion, but nothing can really be used here. No pressure for Dragon. Still staying to farm. He just had Dyrus back, so his teleport's probably going to be walked back to lane as well.
This is where it gets interesting, because Sneaky hit level 6, and it kind of neutralized the Zillion, since now the AD carries are level 6 at the same point, since Sneaky was getting solo lane experience on Trist down in that bottom lane, and they are done with the lane swapping because they know Dragon is going to be an objective, and they need to be able to have teleport presence to stop a force.
Sneaky and Lemon now trying to get harassment on the bottom lane. Amazing's going to be down here to help as well. Go ahead, evolves the spikes. He's going to stay relevant with slows all game long to help really enable the team to continue getting these kills. I'm sure Bjergsen's going to be assassinating quite hard out of the lane.
Always something to keep track of, what Kha'Zix evolves first. I see half the people doing wings, half the people doing the W. This will be better poke presence from Amazing, but slightly lower gank presence. It'll be all about setup from others.
Does it come down to preference or kind of what your team has already brought to the table and then you need to provide?
You know, I'd like to think that it comes down to team comps, but I see the same junglers doing the same things consistently. So I feel like this is just something that Amazing is more comfortable with, getting the damage and the percentage slow from the W, and just kind of being a bit more of a farm-heavy style early on in the game. I think it just suits his play style more.
There's that harass we would know Lulu would be able to put onto Maokai once they got in the lane together, so Dyrus doesn't hesitate. Puts Balls down to half HP right there. His flash is down, so he also can't go aggressive onto Dyrus. So Dyrus uses that well, start to get an advantage in the lane. Going for double Dorans on himself there as well. He's not starting up any items. A calm game after the first kill.
I'd say Bjergsen's actually doing a really good job of farming as well. Since High was able to get that first blood, Bjergsen is keeping his farm up pretty darn well, only down 6 CS to the Zed.
Farm against energy in general is never fun, because they're always going to be able to spit out spells. You're drinking consumables all day. And he gets a blue buff anyways, so he's going to be able to spit out damage on top of the death mark. Does he have enough to capitalize on it? It's going to pop with the Ignite on. No, it already popped.
Well,
I didn't hear it. I was too loud.
He also used that playful trickster right on the death mark. Just make it difficult for High to get the damage down, but they do force it back to base. Throw the pink ward down on the Dragon Fin to deny immediate vision. It does not reach the River Brush, though, so they will be doing this within the vision of TSM. Teleport's coming in. It might be a battle.
This is going to be huge. Lust Boy does have his ultimate up. Where's he going to be throwing it down to? Nice crowd control. He makes him use it on himself. That's going to be huge. Balls with going right into the fight and shutting down the initiation. Dragon's already been picked up in the fight, and it looks like Cloud9's going to go ahead and walk out of this one. And Elimination has to flash out.
Just the type of fight you wouldn't expect after watching the game the last few days that have been total bloodbaths. But, you know, TSM did have the man advantage. The Zilean ult will create slightly lower kill games, especially if they're focusing damage right there. Flash is burned on a couple of sides, but overall Cloud9 walks out with a slight edge. It'll just be a matter of how much TSM punishes. Since Cloud9 lost so much health from that fight and Bjergsen had just based, I think they get to counter with the turret. They're going to try. Good
focus here from the rest of the team. Dyrus to come up as well on the Whimsy. And they're getting a lot of aggression from Cloud9. Jab, that bubble goes out. They could lock down Amazing on this one. The death mark is not up. And he's only going to be walking out limping on this. Dyrus, the last hit of his auto attack, able to take it down, and they open up the middle part of the map, which helps quite a bit.
TSM opened up the middle part of the map, but maybe Cloud9 will pretty soon too. Look at all the guys that just had to back from TSM. They may end up losing some type of turret pressure with all of this happening.
Bjergsen staying. Looks like he wants to just sit right in the face of High and not let him get too much. The rest of the team spreading out to the side, so Cloud9 don't answer back right away. I feel like what they have was sufficient enough for now. TSM's just going to get a little bit back on that mid turret. So back to lanes. We do have the Hex Drinker built up by High, really helping his survivability, and already half healthing just in a few spells, Bjergsen.
Yeah, Bjergsen can't use his Playful Trickster to farm really anymore because he needs to save it for a High all-in. It's going to make farming a little bit tricky for him here until he gets some help. He actually goes for a kill.
Ooh,
misses it.
It's the jump, and he shadows over it. Doesn't going to have the Playful for this one. Shouldn't kill him, though. And it does.
Yeah, keeps using that just right against
catching me out. Got it on the initial attack, so it doesn't even stick all these times. And oh wow, Sneaky gets over the huge part of the wall. That's taken down, but he'll be fine. Elimination goes out to make sure there's no more pressure coming in. Very nicely done.
Level 7 is such a strong point in the lane for Zilean. His bomb's doing so much damage. The fact that he can double bomb at this point just creates very unfavorable trades. With the AP ratio, it's 280 damage per time bomb.
Yep.
No other support can match that damage at this point in the game.
Very back and forth, but both teams stopping each other from getting too much out of these engagements. We hear a lot of the scrims become quite bloody. Very many kills before the Nexus go down. But this one, very carefully played by both teams. Methodical and strategical. It looks like they should be able to get the turret on this one, but they leave it up for a little bit longer. They don't know where Meteos is just yet. What a game so far. Very close, even with that first dragon.
TSM definitely trying to break Cloud9's perfect playoff record. All time in the playoffs, Cloud9 is 13-0, which is pretty remarkable. 6 of those wins coming against TSM. They always meet them in the finals the last 2 times. 3-0'd both of them.
3-0 both, a level of comfort that they like bring to these games, as you were talking about, not seeming anxious, just kind of relaxed in champion select, and they bring that out into the entire game. As TSM make it antsy in their plays, Dyrus comes from top lane and they got first blood, so Cloud9, even Sixth Sense here, making sure he has the pink wards, tons of vision all over the map, and they can actually make something out of this now. You see the pinch up.
Ball's wanting to save this turret for a little while longer, but that's another turret down to TSM. The early lanes definitely going to TSM, which is something that actually didn't happen during last split's playoffs.
No.
So much was made of TSM's lane superiority heading into the finals last split, and then Cloud9 did standard lanes every single game and beat TSM.
Yeah.
3 games running. May not be the case in this split. You can see Fizz sticking up with Zed just right. Dyrus' Lulu is supposed to have a lane advantage, and it was kind of a 1v2 for a long portion of that time, but he has managed to get that turret, and 3 turrets across the board for TSM could lead to plenty of map pressure.
Bjergsen with quite a bit of control there towards mid. Not getting out of this one. That's going to be the lock. He's just making sure.
Yeah, finally they were able to burn Bjergsen's Playful Trickster so High could land an actual death mark onto him, and at that point, it was just death to Fizz. He's going to be building up that Zhonya's as quickly as possible, though, to make it even more difficult for High to assassinate him.
super savior style. Kill Lasagnas, play for Trickster, out and back into the fight. Still had a weak laning phase like he did last time, but came out in the team fights. Right now, Cloud9 is pushing forward. We're going to see those team fights coming up quite soon as the map starts to go down. Teams are going to have to start putting up those wards, and that's where it gets dangerous. One turret for Cloud9 now, but like you said, TSM has already answered with 3, so there's some catching up to do.
The next Dragon will be very critical, basically because of the vision control. So it's more dangerous for Cloud9 to approach that spot for vision just because they do not have turrets to fall back upon. The ward coverage has not fallen yet for Cloud9, but if TSM make their way in there with sweepers and pink wards shortly, they could make navigating that area very difficult for Cloud9.
Now Amazing's heading down towards the bottom lane. At least safety on the Dragon as 15 seconds is there. Let's see what happens with this contention. Chum the Water's just about to come up, so obviously TSM's not really ready to fight. High is almost on the same timer for those ultimates. And you can see Amazing in the team really wanting to get a bushwhack out of this, but they don't realize they're all sitting on a ward.
A lot of this will have to do with Amazing's ability to land poke, or Lust Boys for that matter. And who can get a clean initiation? I mean, the gold is dead even right here. Infinity Edge being completed on a Sneaky can be nice. There's a lot of item completions on Cloud9 side, not as many on TSM side, so maybe there's actually a difference in power in that way. But with the Zillion at this point in the game and the poke on a Sneaky, Cloud9 may have to just retreat.
Ooh, Wild Turtle opens up with the culling. They're all forced to back off from the tidal wave. And a little back and forth here. Dyrus almost gets taken down. He holds onto the ultimate, which could still be huge for somebody in this fight to go in, but right now he's got to be back.
They still have the Zillion ultimate. They still have the Lulu ultimate. It's just a matter of being able to use them at the opportune moments. Cloud9 may just try and push mid off of this one because they don't want to tango with all those ults. Dyrus actually going to heal, and he will have his teleport to come back in. That is huge. The Zed poke has been really beneficial. That's the flank. Here's the fight.
Backside, can he polymorph? What's he trying to do? He gives himself the wild growth as they go in. Amazing's very low, but he uses the ultimate, tries to get out, but Meteos finds him as he drops down the spout. Bjergsen's going to have an ult near him, but it looks like he only hits 3 with that. Not too much damage going around.
Oh, man.
He's still doing damage, though. Finally, they get the focus on him. Wild Turtle now trying to go crazy. Lemonation hits the last bubble, and he flashes away, so they cannot get the retribution kill there. 4 for 2.
We said the fight was going to be about the use of TSM's life-saving ultimates, and honestly, Lustboy could not land a good chrono shift that fight. Dyrus went down first with the focus. Usually you want a Zillion ult, the first main target that has damage, that gets focused down. TSM was unable to do that. Cloud9 wins the fight and gets the Dragon.
It was a good initiation. Bjergsen's all hit.
It looked ideal, right? He has a death mark on him, but I mean, watch Lustboy. What actually happens to him here? Because he's not stunned. He just doesn't get the chrono shift down onto any of the people that die right off the bat.
The range, yeah.
It's a pretty good range. He ends up having ult himself when Sneaky all-ins him, which just isn't ideal. There's no proper focus that got shut down by Cloud9. They had enough AoE damage, they had enough threat on multiple targets that Lustboy couldn't make up his mind. Great bubble by Lemon right at the end to secure that final kill, giving Cloud9 enough damage to take down the Dragon after the fight.
Cloud9 comes out in these extended fights more than not. The beginning initiations, TSM is not afraid to make happen, and it did cause Cloud9 to skitter around for a little. But once they have it, once Lemon's back to healing and bubbling, it's crazy. We used to get Lemon Nation playing the Nami when High was on the Kha'Zix, and they would go for the extended jump around fights, and it's still happening now with Nami Zed.
I mean, just High being on Zed gives him so much comfort.
Right.
This could be an attempted... Thought it was going to be an attempted assassination. He doesn't want to tango with balls at this point in the game. We're out of ages. So mad at this already.
Great job all around. 29 to 27 and 62 on the scoreboard. So Cloud9's not really worried about the structures. They're getting what they need back at these fights. Finding TSM out in uncomfortable fighting positions. High again picks up blue. Doesn't really need to go anywhere around the map. So he's going to keep getting that for himself.
I do have to update. We mentioned the 94 KDA for Meteos before the game. If he would have been able to keep his deaths down, he was on pace for 100, but he died this game. He only had 1 death in the entire series.
Meteos, please.
Yeah. Now we've got a 49 KDA for the series. Ball's still getting focused.
Ooh. A little miscommunication, gets himself out fast, but they do get his flash. Whoa! Coming out of nowhere on this one. The Playful and the Trickster to get the kill in.
So this is TSM committing everything to the bottom lane. How far are they going to push and how much are they going to lose to this? If there was a base race situation, TSM would have actually won that one, so the mid lane push is recalling from Cloud9, and they're just trying to take that top lane turret with Trist.
Very nice job. Cloud9 will be back. Things on the mid lane for Dyrus to clear, and both teams try to stretch each other thin for a quick second, but realize they both have good ideas. Got to back up here.
Still a very nice collapse by TSM. They end up trading turrets in that sense, but TSM is the team that gets the kill.
They had a little more wave clear. I'm surprised if Cloud9 would have gone for a Baron on that attempt to just send that person back.
Yeah, they couldn't risk losing the inhibitor. And
easier said than done.
TSM would have known.
They could have pushed right through. Right now, they seem to be headstrong. Pedal to the metal. Zanya's is finished for Bjergsen, which is going to be huge. And with the Chrono Shift coming out, the Wild Growth, they have so much utility to bring to these fights.
As long as they can use it properly. That's the big thing. The execution complexity of this team is just so high. And you consider a bubble can lock up one of the key spells, and a 2-second stun from Elise can also do those things. So it's easier said than done to optimally use the Chrono Shift and the Wild Growth, because they kind of have conflicting goals. You Chrono Shift someone, you want them to die. You Wild Growth someone, you are keeping them alive for longer. So using them on the same target doesn't necessarily have the greatest synergy. It is a very tricky combo to wield properly.
Seeing both teams' composition here as we come to the late game. Definitely going to have to keep wards up more than not. Fog of War is going to play a huge role to be able to take down these turrets. 5v5s at the turret are only going to end up in fights I feel like nobody's going to get anywhere with, and will stalemate every time.
Could very well happen that way. Looks like Cloud9's trying to work on that split push, though. High with the Blade of the Room King and a Brutalizer is the split push threat here. It's difficult to get teams out of this mode unless you're sending 2 people to stop the Zed, or if you're able to force very well with the other 4.
Yep.
At the moment, though, the initiation from TSM lies upon Bjergsen pretty much.
A little bit of that side play, but they don't have too much to engage on. Safe play coming in from High. He actually peels off of the bottom lane here. Looks like they might try to engage. They have Team Solo mid spread pretty thin. They could be finding Lustboy in just a second. And he makes it away. Very nice utility use of the speed steroid.
This is a flank right here. You can see Cloud9's push up the mid lane. A lot of TSM is trying to come from behind them. Although High has burned a lot of Dyrus' stuff right off the bat.
It has been used. The Ignite takes him down, and the hat flutters to the ground.
TSM might still go in, though.
Trying to come in from the backside. A great calling. It's going to be stopped, though. No, he actually dodges out with the relentless pursuit to keep some shots coming in. A kill coming in from Sneaky. Uses the heal to keep the team healthy, but it takes... Actually, he goes down to the Ignite.
Triple kill!
Through that. This is when it comes up big. Bjergsen with the kills in the fights. The triple there, 4-2-2. But those Lemon Nation bubbles disengaging at the end. A little too late, but does save quite a bit there.
A lot of teams would not be willing to re-engage that fight after one person gets soloed off on the side, but TSM knew they had the proper flank positioning. The reason they were able to go in is all of the squishy targets on Cloud9 were readily available for Bjergsen to pounce on. Check this out. This is pretty much all him right here. He gets a lot of damage on a Sneaky, plus the dots. Those, I think, tick him out. Then he does land the Shark onto High, and the Playful Trickster on both of them, plus a properly used Chrono Shift. They didn't have the distractions of a Wild Growth Shield counteracting the idea of Wild Turtle taking enough damage to die, so they did everything properly that time as 4 to end up getting a triple kill and keep themselves in this game. Dragon spawning in 3 seconds.
Get an explosion of the Lich Bane in power as well. Really coming out big. The laning phase on the Fizz not helping him, but he did quite well against High, and now he's coming out huge right now. Dragon's live, like you said. And it's going to be ults up basically on both sides with quite a bit of summoners down from that last fight.
Yeah, and after that last fight, I don't know how willing Cloud9 would be to fly in here. They got to be careful. They do have a little bit of a flank going on. If they can land the right stun, they miss it. Will Balls initiate, he goes.
Only crowd control on the Lustboy. The Chrono Shift is
That's huge.
Not used. It's going to be Amazing. He can't even jump away. Right after a fight, Cloud9 put their foot down and TSM cannot respond.
TSM needed 5 more seconds for that fight because the Chrono Shift was still on cooldown for TSM, so they focused him down. There was no protection, and they just blew him up. What a way for Cloud9 to pull the trigger at just the right moment.
Playing within the perfect window. Cloud9 gets himself a nice 5,000 gold lead here in Game 1 at 25 minutes in. High back to the split push, relieving a bit of pressure on the team. Let's see what he can keep himself doing. There's some good damage coming in from Dyrus.
I mean, Dyrus has been very gold starved lately. He has no armor, and High only builds more and more damage.
Take him down. Turn him into a cupcake, but it's still going to hurt.
Yeah.
Good steal over by Bjergsen. They're going to keep a timer on that, so we got a 30-minute blue buff coming back in for Cloud9. It's not like it really affects anybody on their team to keep grabbing it. It's just going to Bjergsen for experience right now. And there is the death mark. It goes right through the shield. Oh, no. The bait in. He's going to be coming back up, and it looks like he actually may try to deliver another set of that. Does not, though.
Well, that was just kind of saving a bad situation, and not so much making a good situation of it. Normally, if you're going to send 2 people to deal with a split pusher, you actually kill him. But this time, they only managed to stay alive at the cost of the chrono shift. So now Cloud9 knows for a little while they will have that chrono shift down. It comes back very quickly, especially on a level 11 Zillion. Rewind, of course, on a 12.6 second cooldown. He's got 50 seconds left on chrono shift. That will decrease the more he uses rewind. It comes back very quickly.
He's a wise man. He knows what to do. Lucidity boots on him as well. That's not going to help that much more. Good dodge out. TSM trying to continue that vision. Very interesting to see Cloud9 kind of on the back foot here.
He's standing his ground against Wild Turtle, too. Once Trist can stand his ground against Lucian, you're in trouble. The whole TSM team is going to have to find more flank attacks. If they can't flank Sneaky, I don't see a way that TSM actually wins these fights. There's no tank on the TSM team. Instead, they're relying on the wild growth and the chrono shift. But as Sneaky gets stronger and stronger, he'll just be cutting through the squishies in so few hits that it won't necessarily matter if they can come back to life. They just have to get the damage down to the Sneaky.
It won't matter indeed. Oh, no. There we go. No more back foot. They weren't down. They were just biding their time, waiting for everybody to get out of base. So Cloud9 back into engage mode, already with a Banshee's Veil on to Meteos, especially with that damaging cowl. So they're going to be going for hardcore kills in this one. Like we said, these could be some bloody matches. Already 17 kills, 27 minutes in. Cloud9's driving down the front. This could mean a Baron after if they get good things out of it.
TSM is definitely losing the vision war right here. I'm surprised they weren't forcing around the Baron for another catch, but they think they can just get a nice little 4v5 turret push in, or at the very least, force Darius' teleport so he's got to stop split pushing. But they are not able to force the inhibitor turret because of the respawn of Lustboy. But they can continue the vision war around Baron.
Really seems to be playing in C9's favor. Able to get him a kill on Lustboy and mid-turret right there. So they're getting everything in increments here. Nothing real big like their games usually happen. Huge gold leads coming in for their matches yesterday. Right now, TSM's trying to stave them off. Baron could definitely be an option next. We'll have to see. With High now sticking with the team, it's kind of leaving Dyrus off the split push, but he's able to counteract the damage Bjergsen's bringing. So they're not just getting initiated on Sneaky and Wild Turtle are just going back and forth in this mid lane.
Sneaky has so much confidence. So much confidence right now. The only brush that could end up being with Cloud9 has to be cleared off. They actually
moves.
Pop a Ghost Blade active on Zed. I think that was in error. He wasn't going anywhere.
It's all about the audio.
Got a short 45-second cooldown, so he should be all right to get that back.
TSM map completely dark right now. 0 wards are placed for them. It looks like they need to get a few more. We got Dyrus putting one down, but really they don't even have any in the spots. Going to be tough. They don't have time to go back, and Cloud9 is continuing the pressure. Now it's going to be balls to the bottom lane to start getting the waves pushed up on each side. Top lane's going to have to be cleared out quite soon as well. So it looks like they'll back. This is actually going to be a relief for Team Solo Mid, so we should see the wards come out and them start to reset. They're going to need it.
Yeah, everybody on Cloud9 had to go back and shop, trying to maximize their effectiveness. Sneaky will be able to purchase some pretty nice items. I wonder if he's going to go straight for a Bloodthirster because he needs some shielding effectiveness, or if he's going to save another 200 gold for a Last Whisper. I'm telling him, I feel like he's going to go for the Bloodthirster. He knows he needs to be able to withstand Bjergsen's assassinations, and he needs that defensive ability. No, go straight for the Last Whisper. So big time damage from Sneaky, but more vulnerability.
Indeed. Also, a Quicksilver Sash thrown in for Wild Turtle, kind of plateauing the damage for a bit, but he did get a spike in money. It's not going to hurt too much. Hopefully the team can start picking up some more kills. All around 242 to 187. But Balls has been in those fights with the assist, so he's already got the items he needs. And Maokai at that point, he can be quite a hassle to deal with the ultimate ons. Balls to the top lane. Once again, they keep high in the mid lane for power coming from that Zed, and the split push begins once more from both teams.
Yeah, big thing for TSM is actually going to be ignoring balls in team fights, trying to deal with him with Lulu shields, and then just finding creative ways to get to the back line of Cloud9. That's kind of the only way I see them dealing with this. But now Cloud9 actually looking for the initiation. TSM could definitely get cut off here.
All right. Good shot onto Amazing. He won't take any extra damage to be on that death mark. Everybody's kind of, trying to get an initiation in. Balls goes for the
Not
flash.
where
Wow.
TSM wants to be.
TSM is taking turret shots as they try to walk out of this one, and they're going to be pretty much walked along and now strung to Baron if Cloud9 wants to. It seems like they're trying for the bushwhack.
Dyrus down a flash, Lust Boy down a flash, and no vision control at the Baron area. This
Oh, now they're going for it.
is so dangerous for TSM. They have to rush in, but the fear of rushing in is that they're waiting for a trap, and Balls is trying to zone them out. They're going to realize now the Baron's being taken.
He can do everything.
Too late.
He throws down the Maokai ultimate. Maelstrom is down. They go right for Bjergsen. The Zanyas is on. Lust Boy's Chrono Shift still trying to pay attention to that. Wild growth now to Bjergsen. They're trying to calculate these. He got the Chrono Shift as well, so he will be back. Cloud9, however, is cleaning up the fight. Sneaky says, "King me," gets another jump. One more shot to Bjergsen. It's going to come from Meteos, and Lust Boy is the only one to get out alive.
4 kills, and the Baron may just be the straw that broke the camel's back right there for
could
TSM.
say that again.
They used both of the big spells onto Bjergsen right there, but that left the rest of the team vulnerable.
Right.
And Cloud9 has enough damage and enough experience playing against us that they were able to just work around those ultimates. They had so much power. They get the Baron, now they're pushing mid.
Far so good as they push in 11,000 gold. An inhibitor down now on the side of Team Solo mid. Cloud9 feeling pretty good and pretty far ahead this game. It should just be another few fights and on to game 2. TSM's going to think differently though. We'll see this one more time.
Yeah, so obviously the Baron was taken at the start, giving that bonus damage to Cloud9, and the TSM approach was just a little bit scattered because they were going in blind. Bjergsen did as much as he possibly could, but he had to burn his Zanyas early,
Right.
which gave him less flexibility within the fight. And then Sneaky had so much damage and was so willing to continue around. He was the one who took out Wild Turtle, which meant while Bjergsen was reviving, the other damage threats for TSM were dead. Dyrus, since he burned his ultimate early, just got blown up immediately, and TSM just could not enter in sync.
4 Dragons going over to Cloud9. 1 Baron as well. That's going to help the game completely. But as I was saying, TSM not out of this yet. We talked a little bit about it in the pregame show. A hard series is not something to keep them down. They are definitely able to come back, and they have the mentality to do so. Dyrus still having quite a good game in farm. He's getting items that he needs. And Rabadon's is going to help as well. So they have a good amount of AP, a good amount of AD as well coming from both sides. They just have to be able to get the fight they want at this point, and that's going to be very hard with Cloud9 having most of the vision everywhere. There's still hardly any wards for TSM on the map here.
It's true, and Cloud9 has stacked some very critical defensive itemization onto their team right now. Banshee's Veil being completed onto Sneaky gives him so much safety. GA onto High, Banshee's onto Meteos, even a Lockdown on Solariana, Mikhail's on Elimination. It becomes near impossible for TSM to win a team fight here, especially with the Baron buff. Let's just see how quickly Cloud9 and how willing they are to dive this turret. If they can get the turret aggro onto Balls, it could be a very aggressive dive from Cloud9.
I almost thought High was going to go fully in there with his Living Shadow and then hit the ultimate.
Yeah, he might just hop in with his ultimate
Yeah.
and then hop back out to push TSM off the turret, because once Cloud9 can get 2 inhibitors down, it's generally easy pickings for number 3. Balls is not even getting hurt by Amazing Poke right now.
And we got Wild Turtle already trying to take down the minions coming down through mid. You have Sneaky just hitting the auto attacks. Bjergsen is in. Jump the Waters only does so much damage, and it looks like they now engage. Cloud9's focusing on Bjergsen. He tries to get to the back line. He's popped up by the tidal wave. He will be back. Chrono Shift is on. Lust Boy under the back line trying to peel a bit for Turtle as well. Nobody can get back to Bjergsen though. Cloud9 is just sectioned off the entire fight.
And Cloud9 is doing the right thing here. It's almost like everyone is on their own individual page during team fights, which makes it impossible to track who they're focusing, and it's just playing mind games with TSM. This game's over.
34.5 on the clock, Jack. Cloud9 coming in strong, 64,000 to 48, 17 to 6 on the scoreboard. We're going to go to game 2 in this best of 5 series. Cloud9 takes game 1.
While TSM was able to kill Meteos for the second time and Sneaky for the first time this playoffs, It was just the once, and you need to do that a few more times if you want to take down Cloud9 in the playoffs. They are now 14-0.